two things, discipline and the Bible. Here you'll receive both. Put your trust in the Lord. The rest belongs to me.
Who's tripping down the streets of the city, smiling at everybody she sees? Who's reaching out to capture a moment? Everyone knows it's windy. One thing that's not windy, this morning roundup. It actually is a little bit. It's gotta be a lower setting for this. Here we've got a big dolphin and the D20 is spinner. Of course, big Sharko, some skull knobs, then we've got our Einstein, and we got Freddie Mercury. Okay, so you know how I've said some prints are just cursed? This messed up again. I have tried to make this 4 times, this chest piece. This time, not a machine problem. I already fixed this, but this got all like tangled up. Like, why does the universe not want this chest knight to be printed? This would be like if this was in some kind of 70s slasher novel or some paranormal something. Like, this would be a major plot point. I'm pretty sure the novel version of Poltergeist had something involved with this. And we've got a big Talon. And of course, big Sharko. Let's package some things. Time to ship the donut. Got that white guitar octo looking fine. Let's get some pics of the big pink David. See, this is why we have the black background. Pink on red just looks super weird. And of course, the pink David is getting shipped. And of course, we've got Sharko. Okay, I got an email notification that they picked up the packages. Look at that crap. Like, what is wrong with the post office, honestly? There's some sad things known to man. Ain't too much sadder than. I feel stupid for even saying this. I got dragged into this debate on Facebook. The only reason I even engaged with this guy is I've known him for years. I keep wanting to say something about it. Really, the only takeaway is debating people online is stupid. Sometimes even if you know them. Man, sometimes I just get more and more convinced that nobody should debate anything online, ever. Maybe on a Zoom call or something like that. Basically, he just kept strawmanning my position, and I stated my position probably literally 15 times. It's been forever since I went this many comments with somebody. It was just like the most frustrating and stupid thing. He's like this guy that comes across as really respectable, and he actually has a debate group with like 100,000 members. But it was just the most childish, stupid thing. Like, he would post screenshots of stuff I wrote, but then like cut off the end of it, which totally changes the meaning. I don't know, every once in a while I dip my toes back into online debates, and I just remember like why I don't do that. Maybe the reason I did with this guy is I knew him, and he's like, the word I was looking for is ostensibly. He is ostensibly a really stand-up guy, and it was just like debating a 12-year-old. Man, that's why I don't do that. You know what, screw it. We're just gonna talk about it. I was gonna keep this vague, but it's just bothering me so much. Anyone that's new, we have a no politics rule on the channel and in the Discord, which has been great. And I'm holding to that. But I realize this isn't exactly a political debate. I feel so dumb even talking about this. Literally, like, I'm just talking about this because I can't stop thinking about it and how stupid it was. Okay, so this guy that we are going to be having this discussion with, he makes good money. He has a huge debate group. I think it's maybe more than 100,000. That was like 5 years ago, last I checked. he makes money off of that, and he has a YouTube channel. Like, he's like a minor internet celebrity. That's a way of saying it. And he also pretty much just debates all the time. So, as a reasonably intelligent person, he kind of knows what the rules, what the laws of logic are. Let's just put it that way. I'm basically trying to outline that he doesn't have an excuse to be this stupid. So he posts this thing on Facebook that says, myth, Big Pharma is suppressing cancer cures. Reality, cancer isn't just one disease. Look, maybe I'll just say that one more time. Think about what's being said here. Myth, Big Pharma is suppressing cancer cures. Reality, cancer isn't just one disease. Now, I'm not taking a position really on whether Big Pharma is suppressing cancer cures. I mean, I've heard things back and forth on it. They're saying the myth is that Big Pharma is suppressing cancer cures, but cancer is not just one disease. How is, like, that does not address the issue at all. So, in case you don't get the second half of that, cancer is kind of not just one disease. Cancer's like a category, is a good way of thinking about it. It's when cell growth, of course, gets out of control and eventually kills you and stuff. While we call all of those types of things cancer, the actual underlying mechanics of what causes it and stuff is very different. So much that really different kinds of cancers should be called different diseases, sort of. So that's what it means. Like, you know, cancer cures are being suppressed. Reality, cancer is not just one disease. So, like, here's the thing to ask. How does that debunk that cancer cures are being suppressed? Cancer cures could be suppressed, and cancer could be more than one disease. Like, that's, when you say it like that, it's so obvious, right? It's just the most obvious thing in the world. And so I decided to just say that. Look, I post dumb things sometimes. Sometimes there's some obvious thing that I posted and it's like, oh, yeah, okay, I'm gonna take this down because I look really stupid. Cancer cures could be suppressed, and cancer, strictly speaking, be more than one disease. So you might be guessing, like, well, what did he say to this? It's pretty obvious, right? Well, of course, what he did was try to argue that I'm saying cancer cures are being suppressed, which I took great pains to not say. I just very clearly outlined that this was a non sequitur and it didn't make sense. And so, of course, what any reasonable person would do is clarify, I'm not saying anything about cancer cures. I'm just saying, like, cancer cures could be suppressed and cancer be more than one disease. Like, that's not a rebuttal. So just over and over, you know, I figured he's been debating people a lot. Maybe it's going to take a couple comments to convey what I'm trying to say. It's like, listen, I'm not saying anything about whether the cancer cure stuff. Like, I don't know. I am not taking a position on that. I'm just saying, like if you suppressed a cure for leukemia, that doesn't mean that like somebody could claim that and not be thinking that they're suppressing a cure for something else. Now, of course, he was saying stuff like, well, a lot of the people that debate the cancer cure stuff are really dumb and they don't know that cancer is multiple diseases. So then it became a thing of like, well, some of these people probably think that. And it's like, yes, but there's nothing about the idea that cancer cures could be suppressed that would be rebutted by cancer is many different diseases. Like, that doesn't really get to the logic of it. And also, I've seen enough people claim things about that, and I've never seen them ever say anything like, there aren't different kinds of cancer. See, here's the thing. Even if they were claiming that something cures all kinds of cancer, cancer being multiple diseases is not a rebuttal of that. Like, it just isn't, that's not rebutting what they're even saying. Like, they could just say, yes, cancer is many diseases, and apple cider vinegar cures all of them. Like, he just could not get that that's the point I'm making. The reality part of it does not rebut the myth. It's not even like, it just doesn't make sense. And so, like, over and over, he just deliberately misunderstood me, especially past the point where, like, that was even reasonable. I don't know. I feel like I just need to get that off my chest. There's a reason I don't do this debate stuff anymore, because it's just so stupid. Even the people that are, like, smart enough or whatever to understand what you're saying, so many of them, like, the only people that even do this are super bad faith, and it's just so annoying. Like, maybe one thing you could say, if you're gonna do a myth in reality, if the myth is like the pharma industry is suppressing cancer cures, the reality would be like, no, they're not. It wouldn't be like, oh, there's all these different kinds of cancer. Like, that doesn't touch the claim. I don't know, I feel like I've talked about this enough. I just had to vent. All right, one last thing on this. I'll make an analogy. Let's say somebody posted this on Facebook. Myth, orange juice kills cats. Reality, there's a bunch of kinds of cats. Orange juice kills cats. Nuh-uh, there's a whole bunch of breeds of cats. That doesn't mean anything. Why did you say that? Brokies. I'm already feeling better. Oh, I forgot to mention, that guy, like, voice called me 5 times. He called me on Facebook Messenger to, like, yell at me or something. There's so many people who would just be better off if they just changed their mind or just admitted when somebody else is wrong. Like, it just makes you look stupid. Reed's fishing more. Ugh. Let's get back into the game. Yeah, looks like there's some kind of movement happening over here. Got all the machines doing their thing. We're making the chest knight for like the 5th time. We also got the hex nut printing in the next room, but it is exceptionally mild out, and I think it's time to take Black Beauty for a spin. Yeah. We're here in the shade. It's not even that sunny out, really. We're going with the Match 20. Great every time. One of the fun pipes that we got, of course, from the antique place. Just a simple jet black pipe, suitable for formal and informal occasions. Smonk 'em if you gonk 'em. Oh yeah, getting pretty close to episode 400. We're gonna do a Q&A like we always do. We're gonna follow the ancient tradition. So you can start getting your questions ready for the big 400. They found me. I don't know how, but they found me. Every time I do this, I think I'm not gonna have anything to say when I'm smoking a pipe. This whole thing is just gonna be me smoking this pipe over and over again. But there's something about the pipe that just makes me feel like I have thoughts. And I do. I was thinking a little bit about the debate thing. I've kind of developed an instinct to not dwell on thoughts, especially when I feel myself going around in circles and just obsessing. So my instinct kind of makes me think I should be analyzing a different angle or aspect of this thing. And like, one thing that occurred to me, you know, obviously this guy could not, or would not after a certain point, see the point I was making. And it's like he was, I didn't see this at the time, but it's like he was viewing me as a collective and not an individual. He was debating the collective of the people that think there are suppressed cancer cures and stuff. He was not like viewing me as an individual. Now, a lot of things start out that way. In some sense, we almost have to start out with our understandings of other people as being groups or being vagaries. Like when you first kind of get presented with somebody or start a conversation with somebody, you don't really know them that well. So you have to, it's logically the only option that you have to start with generalities. Now you see where this goes wrong are the people. This is where stereotypes come from, but it's more general than that. What happens where people go wrong is they never move beyond that. I think that's how I got lured into the debate, because it's like at first I just said a thing that I didn't think was going to become a debate, and then he misunderstood it, and I was like, oh, this is, maybe I'm not being clear, this is what I meant specifically. And yeah, the thing he did wrong was he just never moved beyond really seeing me as a collective. So what I kind of thought from there, I kind of thought like, well, an interesting question is, should you always insist to be viewed as an individual? And what that made me think, it made me think it's church time. What that made me think, I think if you want to be viewed as an individual, it's hypocritical not to at least be willing to view others as individuals. Basically, you know, the philosophical way to put it would be, if people should be viewed as individuals, that applies to the entire category of people. And that would be the basis on which, I mean, I don't think there's anything particular about any one of us that makes us deserving of being viewed as individuals more than others. But that kind of like presents an interesting question, is like, well, does everybody think that? Does everybody believe they should be viewed as an individual? Maybe put another way, does everybody value their individuality above their sort of collective identity? And it's like, kind of unfortunately, the answer to that is no. There are definitely people that value their collective identity, whatever that might be, more than who they actually are as a person. The attributes that they as a person possess that differentiate them from other people. Sort of a hard thing to imagine sometimes, but there are people that it's almost like they don't want their own individuality to even exist. They just want to blend into a crowd. And see, like, the thing is, my instinct would be like, oh, well, that's fine if you want to do that. But there are real problems with wanting to blend into a crowd, with wanting to just be a member of a faceless collective, to not value who you are as an individual. There are like some really bad emergent problems from that. The first thing that jumps out at me is individuals can be more reasonable, tend to be more reasonable than collectives. There's probably more detail that could be gone into there, but it's kind of this idea, you know, if it's you and some other person one-on-one in a room, just kind of talking, they're a lot more apt to like listen to you and maybe be persuaded of something. Obviously, even on a one-on-one basis, there's a lot of people that are not going to be reasonable. But it's like, if anybody's gonna be reasonable, it's in a setting like that. Now let's think about some of the cliche examples, the stereotypical examples of when people are just acting as a member of a group and have largely abdicated their identity, their concept of self. Well, historically, one of the number one examples would be like in a war. Now, I would say that if we think about every war that's ever happened, typically they probably didn't need to happen most of the time, but of course it's imaginable that there are times that wars have to be fought. So that should be said. But yeah, with that preface, it's like in a war, there's a reason each side wears a uniform. You know, as I've said before, my dad was a Marine. He fought in a war, and I'm pretty familiar with how that life is. You know, they're really training you to act as a group. And that's how war kind of needs to happen. Obviously, it just is what it is. You know, other examples of times that people act as a collective or a member of a collective forsaking their individuality would be like mob rule or a riot or things like that. In that sense, if you are, to circle back to the thing, I would normally be like, oh, if you don't want to be an individual, that's fine. But it really presents these crazy problems because you can't really argue with a mob. You can't argue with a collective. At least you can't persuade them or get them to think as much as you could individually with a person. As Nietzsche said, madness in individuals is rare, but in the group it is the rule. I mean, you can kind of even see this with like pets or animals or something. It's like, you know, one dog, you can kind of feed it, you can bring it into your house, and you can domesticate it to a large degree. A pack of dogs, it's very, very hard to do that. So like when you are in a discussion with somebody and they are presenting themselves as an individual and you just lump them in with a group, in some deep way, it's like this sin against humanity. It took so much struggle for humanity to rise itself out of just rank collectivism. And like, every time you're sort of dishonest in that way, every time you don't see the person as who they are, you're pushing us back into this like prehistoric mindset that's just completely dominated by violence. Not seeing the individual when they've gone through particular care to present themselves as one, it really is like one of those great sins against humanity. Not to get too epic, but this, I think that and probably a few other things is kind of why the Judeo-Christian world sort of became what it is, became as influential and really was one of the greatest revolutions in thought. It's because if you look at really what the point of it all is, it's all about like what you're doing as an individual. It's no longer this thing of people are just kind of part of the group. It's like sins and things like that are things that you do. Like, it isn't like, oh, this person made me do it. It's like, well, no, you chose to do it. Your decisions, the responsibility you're willing to take, that sort of thing, that's what fundamentally you're judged on in that paradigm. And you know, you have to, for whatever flaws are also attendant to that mind shift, I mean, it's produced a pretty amazing civilization, can't lie. I think we're about cashed. I'm glad we had this talk. Okay, the package from Philobot, its first update has cleared. We're getting this motor. This is unreal. Unless they just put a rock in a package and sent it to me, that would suck. New project. We're knocking out some candy buttons. Somebody got this as a custom order, and I think what we're gonna do, these are very, very flat, so I think we're gonna make 2 of them, and then you can kind of put them together, and they're like a big candy banner on the wall. Nice and flats. We're gonna paint all the little buttons, then we're gonna do everything else in white, of course. Today was a good day. I even had to get my party tray. $9 cheese platter. Plus there's grapes in it for some reason. About to be a cheesy delight. At Kroger, I always check the party trays because every once in a while there's a discounted one. The best one is when they have the sandwich trays. It's like you're catering an event, but the event is your life. Chihuahua of the day. Join the Discord, link below. Quite a bit of discussion here. Basically the build surface war continues. I don't know if there's a real consensus here. Like I said, I'm kind of fine with all of them. If anything, a lot of people seem to like PEI. Dash render. The Stasi in East Germany used Zersetzung, psychological decomposition, where they studied personality spheres and social ties, then applied subtle pressure. Maybe Philobot is using empathy and Zersetzung on M3's 3D. Look, I'm not going to be a believer until I open that box and hold the thing. In fact, I may even open up the motor just to make sure that it's not a psyop. But Philobot is looking shockingly competent, and dare I even say, generous is definitely too far. Philibot, having a relationship with the Philibot company, it's like having an abusive ex. Once they actually start doing stuff that they're like supposed to do, it makes you like grateful. But you probably just should have expected that the whole time. Oh, whatever. Philibot is an abusive ex. And the children I had with it are my filament extruders. Jason King Kong with the excellent comment. Popular Mechanics did a study where they mailed packages full of sensors. Some with fragile on them, some without. I guess that means the boxes. The fragile packages were handled worse than those without the label. On the other hand, if you put it on the box, a customer might be more apt to blame the post office for not handling it correctly than blaming you for the damage. That's exactly how I would think about it. Makes me want to start putting fragile on the packages. It would be interesting to actually try it as an experiment. I used to have a bunch of fragile labels because they would come with these sheets of paper labels that I used to get. I used to have paper labels before the thermal printer, and yeah, we just had tons of fragile stickers. I never used them. It'd be interesting to do an actual analysis, but I don't know. I don't know what FedEx does when you write fragile on there, because they can charge you after the fact, and that's no fun. The Reasonable Gentleman, grateful every day I wake up. Cheers, brother. You too, brother. Internet user 87. She's going to love the ice cream. Man, I hope you're right. Shane Christensen, of course he notices. Been a hot minute without Andy Dufresne in the episodes. Andy Dufresne. Two things never happened again after that day. The sisters never bothered Andy again. And Boggs never ate solid food again. Rugged Layer Lab. Philibot found out you got a YouTube channel. That's what happened. Maybe they'll sponsor you. You should ask them. That would be the most ironic thing possible. You know, in a sane world, they should sponsor me. I guess I never asked. Wonder what it would mean. Would they send me money? JP Letty. Maybe Philibot's been watching your videos and have seen the light. That seems to be the crowd consensus. What am I grateful for today? Honestly, cheap groceries were nice. And getting this cheese tray, man, nothing hits like a good cheese tray. I never had that many corporate jobs. There were a few jobs I had where they would have meetings every few months. And I was the guy just over there chowing down on the cheese tray. So the vibes are good here at the M3 household. Let me know in the comments what you are grateful for, what projects you're working on. What new printers are you messing with? Join the Discord and tell us, or just write down in the comments, man. We love the gratitude. We are grateful for the gratitude. We drop that goodness every single day. Set your watch to M3 time. Hey, write a song request down in the comments. You might hear it. Preferably something groovy, okay? It's gotta be pretty groovy. Catch you on the next episode. Peace out, everybody.
Stay around you. I can't say what I need. This blinding adolescence I'm seeing to believe. Standing in a moment, what has been is cast aside. Frozen there as time rode. I know that you must have died. passions, everything that we through emotions, and we're all going to die. So leave me something precious, another glimpse of light. Lions around you, open up your light, time to say a Wiedersehen.